by their billionaire parents. But the indie will shock you. Abandoned by their wealthy parents, two twin sisters with mysterious blue eyes were left to suffer alone. But what seemed like an unimaginable curse soon became the key to their extraordinary rise. Rejected and bullied, they were taken in by a kind-hearted woman who gave them a second chance at life. Little did anyone know these twins possessed a gift that could change the world forever. One that could predict the future, the odds, turning pain into power, and discover how their remarkable invention catapults them to unimaginable success. But when their biological parents, now destitute and seeking redemption, return, will the twins forgive them or cut ties for good? Watch the full video to discover. If this is your first time on our channel, take a moment to subscribe to our channel as we dive into the full story. To our returning subscribers, thank you for always watching and liking our videos. Now let's get into the full story. The day Angelina and Angelica were born should have been one of joy for their parents, Mr. Tobias and Mrs. Salome. The couple had long been the epitome of success, their names synonymous with wealth, luxury, and power. Their businesses spanned continents, and their lives were full of high-end soirees, the envy of everyone who crossed their path. But when the twins arrived, everything began to unravel. Angelina and Angelica were born with strikingly blue eyes, an anomaly in their family, as both parents had brown eyes. At first, the couple marveled at their daughter's beauty, but soon something more troubling started happening. Mr. Tobias's business empire, which had seemed untouchable, began to crumble. Their accounts were drained, properties were lost, and lawsuits piled up. Nothing could explain why everything seemed to go wrong all at once. One evening, in a desperate search for answers, Mr. Tobias and Mrs. Salome visited a native doctor. After a long consultation, the doctor solemnly declared that the twins were cursed. Their magical blue eyes had brought misfortune to the family, the cause of all the loss and pain they were experiencing. He warned them that the only way to reverse the curse was to rid themselves of the twins and move far away from them. Devastated and frightened, the couple made the unthinkable decision. They abandoned Angelina and Angelica when they were only 8 months old, leaving them in a secluded part of the city. A note was placed beside them, explaining that their parents couldn't care for them anymore, and that it was for their own good. The couple fled to another city, hoping to start fresh without the burden of their daughters. The twins, left alone in the cold, had no way of knowing what fate had in store for them. All they had were their blue eyes, now seen as both a blessing and a curse. The cold night air bit at Mama Ruth's skin as she made her way home from the market. The small village where she lived was quiet, with only the occasional rustling of leaves in the wind. But as she walked down the path that led to her little cottage, something unusual caught her eye. In the dim light of the street lamps, she saw a bundle lying in the shadows, tucked between a fence and a pile of hay. Her heart skipped a beat. Rushing over, Mama Ruth knelt beside the bundle and gasped in shock. Inside, wrapped in tattered blankets, were 2 tiny babies, no older than 8 months. Their faces were pale, their lips blue from the cold, and their eyes, wide, bright and blue, stared up at her with an innocence that seemed almost unnatural. She could feel their coldness seep through the blankets, and her heart swelled with both concern and compassion. Without a second thought, Mama Ruth lifted them into her arms, her mind racing. Where had these children come from? Why were they abandoned in such a way? She knew that the twins needed warmth, food, and love, and she vowed right then to give them all of that, no matter the cost to herself. Mama Ruth had no children of her own. Her life had been one of struggle, barely making ends meet as a seamstress, yet her heart had always been open. Her small cottage was humble, filled with the scent of fabric and the soft glow of candlelight. She knew that she had little to offer, but what she did have, her love, she would give freely to these babies who had no one else. She wrapped them tighter in her shawl and hurried inside. As she gently placed them in a makeshift crib she had set up in the corner of her modest home, Mama Ruth's heart swelled with love. "You'll never be alone again," she whispered to the twins, promising them a future filled with warmth and care, no matter the hardships ahead. Mama Ruth's cottage was small, and there were many days when the food was sparse and the bills piled up. But the home was always full of warmth, and the twins thrived there. Every night, Mama Ruth would read to them before bed, her soothing voice filling the room with stories of hope and strength. The twins, even at a young age, soaked up the love and wisdom Mama Ruth imparted. By the time they were 4, Angelina and Angelica were already showing remarkable abilities. Angelina, the more serious of the two, had an insatiable love for books. She would often be found with her nose buried in one, her brow furrowed in concentration. It wasn't long before she was reading books meant for high school students, novels, biographies, and science textbooks, soaking up knowledge as if she couldn't get enough. Her mind seemed to grasp complex ideas effortlessly, and Mama Ruth marveled at her daughter's thirst for learning. Angelica, on the other hand, expressed herself through art. She could often be found with a pencil in hand, sketching the world around her in incredible detail. Her drawings were beyond her years, portraits of Mama Ruth, landscapes of the village, and intricate depictions of the stars. The way she could capture the essence of a moment, her observations of life, were beyond what anyone would expect from a child her age. Despite their natural gifts, life wasn't easy for the twins. Mama Ruth worked long hours, sewing clothes and doing laundry for others in the village, but there were times when the family went without. Yet, Mama Ruth made sure the twins never went to bed hungry, always finding a way to provide. She would say, "Even when things are tough, we have each other." And that's the greatest blessing of all. Mama Ruth's lessons about kindness, resilience, and the importance of never giving up shaped the twins into strong individuals. They learned that even in the face of hardship, their love for each other and their determination could carry them through anything. The first day of school was an exciting milestone for Angelina and Angelica. Mama Ruth had been eagerly preparing them for this day, teaching them how to pack their little backpacks and reminding them to be kind to the other children. But as the twins walked to school, hand in hand, they couldn't shake the nerves swirling in their stomachs. It was their first time leaving the safety of Mama Ruth's home, and the world outside was unknown. When they arrived, they were met with curious stares from the other children. Angelina, the older twin by a few minutes, stood tall, her heart racing, while Angelica clung to her side. The other children whispered to each other, pointing at their bright blue eyes. Rumors had already begun to spread through the village about the cursed twins, and the kids at school were quick to pick up on the gossip. At recess, the teasing began. "Look at the freaks with the weird eyes," one boy whispered loudly as he walked past the twins. Another girl tugged at Angelica's braid and said, "You'll bring us bad luck. You shouldn't be here." The words stung, but the twins didn't let them show. Angelina, though hurt, squared her shoulders and walked forward. Angelica clung to her side, but her tears were hidden behind a smile. They knew the truth. No matter what the other children said, they had each other, and that was all that mattered. Mama Ruth's words echoed in their minds. "Don't let anyone define you by something you can't control." At the end of the day, when the twins sat down to do their homework, their spirits were lifted by the simple joy of learning. Despite the bullying, they excelled in their studies. Angelina quickly caught the attention of her teachers with her sharp mind and love for reading, while Angelica's creativity with art made her stand out. It became clear that their talents were far greater than any cruel words. That night, when Mama Ruth asked them how their day went, they smiled and nodded. "It was hard," Angelina said softly, "but we're okay." Mama Ruth smiled, proud of the strength her daughters had shown. As the years passed, the twins continued to grow, both intellectually and emotionally. Their lives, though still marked by the sting of bullying, began to take on a rhythm of success. Angelina and Angelica were unstoppable in the classroom. While their peers struggled with basic subjects, the twins breezed through their lessons, their academic achievements nothing short of extraordinary. Angelina, with her sharp mind and love for mathematics, was solving complex equations before she was even old enough to understand their real-world applications. Angelica's talent in art became renowned, and her paintings began to capture not just images but emotions. Their teachers were astounded. "These girls are geniuses," they would often say. They're years ahead of their peers. Word of their brilliance spread through the village, and soon the local community took notice. Mama Ruth's humble home was no longer the only place where people spoke of the twins. The entire village recognized their potential. Despite their academic success, the bullying never stopped. At school, the other children could not let go of the rumors that surrounded the twins. Angelina, who was so adept in mathematics, found herself isolated during group activities. She was often teased for being too smart and too weird for the others to relate to. Angelica, despite her artistic talents, was regularly mocked for her unique appearance, the cruelest comment being that her blue eyes made her look alien. The taunts and whispers continued, and the girls found themselves sitting alone at lunch more often than not. But despite the isolation and cruelty, neither girl ever backed down. Every time they were ridiculed, they drew strength from each other and from the lessons Mama Ruth had instilled in them. She had taught them that true success came from within, not from the approval of others. They don't know your worth, Mama Ruth would tell them, but you do. Angelina and Angelica pushed forward, never allowing the negativity of others to cloud their belief in themselves. With every math problem solved and every canvas filled with vibrant colors, they were proving that their potential was limitless. By the time the twins turned 16, their bond had become something almost unexplainable. They shared an uncanny connection, one that made it seem as though they were two halves of the same soul. Often, Angelina would be in the middle of a thought, and Angelica would finish her sentence without missing a beat. Or, on rare occasions, they would find themselves thinking the same thing at the exact same time. It was as though they were linked on a deeper level, an invisible thread that pulled them together. One rainy afternoon, as they worked on a school science project, they experienced something that would change the course of their lives forever. The assignment was simple: create a model that predicted the outcome of a random event. While most students struggled with the task, the twins found themselves effortlessly calculating the results. Angelina was the first to notice something unusual. She had spent hours calculating the odds of a random event, an object falling to the ground, using complex formulas. She began to feel a strange sensation, as if the numbers on her paper weren't just numbers, but something alive, swirling with energy. It was as if she could predict exactly when and where the object would land, with mathematical precision. Angelica, who had been quietly sketching in her notebook, felt an emotional pull that matched the sudden surge in Angelina's calculations. She saw the ripple effect in her mind, the feelings of shock, the wonder in people's eyes as they observed the fall. Her intuition told her the exact moment something would happen, and she could almost feel the emotional weight of it. The shock, the surprise, the joy. Together, they realized they had discovered something extraordinary. Angelina could calculate events with an almost scientific accuracy, while Angelica could perceive the emotional consequences of those events with startling clarity. They had developed a rare gift, one that allowed them to predict near-future events with incredible precision. They sat in awe of their newfound ability, understanding that this gift could change everything. But as they realized the magnitude of their discovery, a part of them hesitated. What should they do with this power? And how would it affect their already difficult lives? As the twins entered their final years of high school, their reputation had spread far beyond their small village. Teachers and peers alike marveled at their brilliance, and soon even the outside world began to take notice. It wasn't long before a tech company specializing in advanced artificial intelligence and predictive analytics reached out to them. The company had been intrigued by rumors of the twins' unusual ability to predict future events with startling accuracy. They knew that a skill like that could revolutionize technology, and they saw potential in the twins that no one else had recognized. One afternoon, the twins received an unexpected invitation to meet with a representative from the tech company. They were skeptical at first, unsure if this was just another company looking to exploit their talents, but curiosity got the better of them. The representative, a well-dressed man named Mr. Harper, sat them down in a sleek conference room and explained the company's interest. "We've heard about your ability to predict outcomes with exceptional accuracy," Mr. Harper began, his tone professional yet intrigued. What we've discovered is that your skills are unlike anything we've ever encountered. We believe you have the potential to change the way the world operates. We'd like to offer you both full scholarships to a prestigious university where you can hone your abilities. We believe with the right training, you could help us develop technology that can predict the future, on a global scale. Angelina and Angelica exchanged a glance. It was a lot to process. They had always dreamed of higher education, but this was beyond anything they had imagined. The opportunity to not only further their own education but to apply their abilities to something bigger, something world-changing, was overwhelming. When they returned home, they sat with Mama Ruth to discuss the offer. Mama Ruth's heart ached at the thought of letting them go. She had raised them with such love, and the idea of them leaving was painful. Yet she knew this was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. With tears in her eyes, she nodded. "You've both worked so hard to get here. This is your chance to build the future. You have to go." With Mama Ruth's blessing, the twins set off for the university, their hearts filled with both excitement and fear. They knew that this new chapter was the beginning of something big, something that could change their lives forever. College life was a whirlwind for Angelina and Angelica. The twins had always been close, but now, for the first time, they were venturing into a world where their bond was tested in ways they hadn't anticipated. The university was a bustling, diverse place, filled with students from all over the world. The twins were no longer the smartest in the room. They were surrounded by brilliant minds, each with their own talents and ideas. The pressure was immense, and there were moments of doubt, but the twins had each other to lean on. They were enrolled in advanced programs for mathematics, engineering, and behavioral science. The coursework was intense, the professors demanding, but the twins thrived under the challenge. Angelina, with her sharp analytical mind, excelled in the mathematical and scientific aspects of their studies. She approached every problem methodically, breaking down complex equations and analyzing data with ease. Angelica, with her intuitive grasp of human emotions, brought a unique perspective to their work. She could understand the subtle connections between human behavior and the world around them, recognizing patterns others missed. As the semester progressed, the twins began to develop a groundbreaking concept. They had been toying with the idea of a device that could predict future events based on patterns in human behavior, weather, economics, and more. Angelina's math skills were the foundation of the project, while Angelica's insight into human emotions helped them understand how to interpret data in ways that hadn't been done before. Together, they created a prototype that could not only forecast future events with incredible accuracy but also take into account the emotional and psychological reactions that influence those events. The twins worked tirelessly in their small university lab, surrounded by papers, diagrams, and computer models. The device, which they called the Foresight Machine, was their most ambitious creation yet. It had the potential to change the way the world operated, to predict disasters, economic trends, even personal outcomes with unprecedented precision. They knew it was a game changer, but as they tested the prototype, they also realized how powerful and dangerous such technology could be. As they gazed at the prototype, they couldn't help but wonder, what would they do with this gift? Would they use it to change the world for good, or would it become a tool for something darker? The day the twins tested their prototype, they held their breath, uncertain of what the Foresight Machine would reveal. It was one thing to theorize about its capabilities, but another entirely to see it in action. The machine was connected to a vast network of data, everything from stock market trends to weather patterns, even political events. They inputted their first test, the weather forecast for the next week. When the results came in, the twins stared in disbelief. The machine predicted with pinpoint accuracy the coming storm, a rare phenomenon that was set to hit the East Coast. The machine's predictions were not just accurate, they were precise, down to the hour and location of the storm's landfall. With excitement coursing through their veins, they decided to test it again, this time with stock market predictions. They entered the data, waited, and watched in awe as the machine accurately forecasted stock fluctuations in real time. The results were so precise that it was as though the machine could see the future. The twins couldn't contain their excitement. They knew that this was the breakthrough they had been dreaming of. Their invention wasn't just a theoretical success. It was real, tangible, and had the power to change the world. Word of their success spread quickly. Their professors, once skeptical, were now praising their work. News outlets picked up the story, and soon, investors from all over the world were calling. The twins had caught the attention of major tech companies, eager to fund their project and bring the foresight machine to the global stage. But with success came a new set of challenges. As the pressure mounted, the twins found themselves grappling with feelings they had long buried. The constant praise and attention made them uneasy, bringing back memories of their earlier years. Years filled with teasing, isolation, and the haunting question of why their biological parents had abandoned them. The further they went down this path, the more they wondered, what would their parents think now? Would they be proud of their success, or would they still see the twins as a curse? The weight of these questions hung heavy on their hearts as they continued their work. The world was offering them a chance to change everything, but there were still pieces of their past they couldn't escape. It was a crisp evening when the twins sat in front of the television, preparing to watch a news interview about their latest achievements. The media had been buzzing about their invention, and the attention they were receiving felt both overwhelming and surreal. Angelina and Angelica had become symbols of innovation, their names frequently mentioned alongside the world's brightest minds. Yet, despite their success, there was a lingering weight in their hearts, a feeling they couldn't quite shake. The past, particularly the question of why their parents had abandoned them, still haunted them. As they watched the interview, they were interrupted by an unexpected image that froze them in place. On the screen there was a well-dressed couple, clearly struggling with their appearance. Thin, ragged clothing and a tired look in their eyes. Their faces were unmistakable. The news anchor introduced them. In an exclusive interview tonight, we bring you the story of Mr. Tobias and Mrs. Salome, the parents of the now famous twins, Angelina and Angelica. The once billionaire couple has fallen on hard times and, in a desperate plea for forgiveness, share their side of the story. It was Mr. Tobias and Mrs. Salome. When the twins first saw the image of their biological parents on TV, they didn't recognize them immediately. Instead, it was the story that triggered something deep inside them, a recognition of the details that matched their past. The couple on the screen mentioned their names, and that's when the twins felt the shock. As the news anchor explained their parents' desperate plea for forgiveness, the twins began to connect the dots. Perhaps it was a detail about their family or the life they had once lived that made them realize who the couple was. Angelina and Angelica exchanged a glance, their hearts pounding. Their parents had been living in poverty for years, but seeing them on the screen like this, asking for forgiveness, was something they hadn't expected. Mr. Tobias spoke first, his voice shaky. "We were wrong and I regret every moment of it. When the twins were born, we listened to a native doctor who told us they brought bad luck. We abandoned them out of fear and greed, and I can't live with myself anymore." Mrs. Salome's eyes were filled with tears. "I was weak. I listened to him. Believed the lies. Please, if they can forgive us." The twins were stunned into silence. The pain of their abandonment flooded back, the feelings of rejection and confusion from that time. Yet, a part of them also felt something else, a sense of closure, even if it wasn't the apology they had ever imagined. As the camera cut back to the interview, Mama Ruth's face appeared in their minds. She had been their true mother, the one who had never abandoned them. But the question remained, could they forgive the people who had once been their family? Could they let go of the bitterness that had defined their childhood? The decision weighed heavily on their hearts as they sat in silence, lost in thought. The twins sat in the living room of their apartment, the weight of their biological parents' apology still heavy in the air. The world outside was noisy, bustling with the excitement of their continued success, but inside all was quiet, except for the beating of their own hearts, torn between the past and the present. After watching their parents beg for forgiveness on TV, they felt an overwhelming need to talk to someone who could help them make sense of it all. Without a second thought, the twins picked up their phones and dialed the number they knew by heart. Mama Ruth. The woman who had given them everything they had, who had loved them without hesitation, was the one they needed in this moment. Mama Ruth, Angelina began, her voice shaky. We saw them. Our biological parents. They're asking for forgiveness, saying they were wrong to leave us. They say they're sorry. But we don't know what to feel. Mama Ruth's voice, steady and warm, came through the phone. My darlings, I knew this day might come. I want you both to know something very important. You are not bound by the past. Your worth is not determined by who gave birth to you, but by who loved and nurtured you. Family is not just blood. It's the people who support you, who raise you, and who stand by you, even when things are difficult. Angelica wiped away a tear, her emotions swirling inside her. But Mama Ruth, they're our parents. How can we not feel something when they're asking for forgiveness? Mama Ruth sighed softly, her voice filled with the wisdom only years of life experience could bring. I understand, my sweet girls. It's okay to feel conflicted. But remember, forgiveness is not about them. It's about freeing your hearts from the pain they caused. You've built your own family, and I've watched you both grow into strong, intelligent, and compassionate women. Don't let their mistakes define your future. You have the power to choose your path. The twins sat in silence, reflecting on Mama Ruth's words. She had always known how to guide them, how to help them see things from a perspective of love, not anger. Angelina and Angelica exchanged a look, a quiet understanding passing between them. They didn't need their biological parents' approval to be whole. They had Mama Ruth. They had each other. They had everything they needed. They knew what they had to do now. It was time to move forward and live the life they had earned, one filled with love, success, and forgiveness. The day had arrived. Mr. Tobias and Mrs. Salome were scheduled to meet with the twins in their sleek, modern office, an office that was a far cry from the tiny village where they had once lived. The twins, now successful and powerful, had agreed to see their biological parents face to face, but they had made one thing very clear. Mama Ruth would be present. Angelina and Angelica were seated behind their desk, their eyes focused on the door. Mama Ruth sat beside them, her presence a steadying force. She had always been the anchor, the rock, and now, as they faced the parents who had abandoned them, her calm energy was exactly what they needed. When Mr. Tobias and Mrs. Salome walked in, the tension in the room was palpable. They looked much older than the last time the twins had seen them, their clothes shabby and their faces etched with regret. There was a long moment of silence as they took their seats. We've made a terrible mistake, Mr. Tobias began, his voice raw. We were foolish and scared. We let superstition rule our decisions. We abandoned you both when you needed us the most. Mrs. Salome nodded, tears welling in her eyes. We're so sorry. I've regretted it every single day. I wish I could go back and change it all. Angelina and Angelica exchanged a look, their emotions a swirl of confusion, anger, and sadness. It was a difficult moment, and they could feel their hearts fighting against the walls they had built over the years. Mama Ruth is the one who loved us. Angelica spoke first, her voice steady but firm. She's the one who raised us, who cared for us, and who made us who we are today. We can never forget what you did, but we also can't pretend that you are the ones who gave us everything we needed. You didn't. Angelina nodded in agreement. We are grateful for our lives because of Mama Ruth. She gave us more than you ever did. And though we acknowledge that you are our biological parents, our loyalty is with her. She's our mother. Always. The room fell silent. Mr. Tobias and Mrs. Salome sat still, their faces a mix of sorrow and understanding. They knew they had lost the right to be called parents in the eyes of their daughters. Mama Ruth, ever wise, simply smiled softly at the twins. You've made the right choice, my loves. No one can take away the love we've built together. With that, the meeting ended. There was no dramatic reconciliation, no tearful embrace. The twins had spoken their truth. They had forgiven, but they had also chosen to move on. As they walked out of the office, arm in arm with Mama Ruth, the weight of the past finally seemed to lift. They knew that they had made the right decision, and that their future, one built on love and strength, was brighter than ever. The twins' success was nothing short of extraordinary. The foresight machine had revolutionized industries, and as their wealth grew, so did their influence. But unlike many who sought luxury and fame, Angelina and Angelica had a different vision for their newfound fortune. They knew what truly mattered: love, family, and the community that had helped shape them into the people they were today. Rather than indulging in the lavish lifestyle that their wealth could afford, the twins focused on using their resources to make a meaningful difference. The first project they initiated was a series of schools, built in Mama Ruth's name. These schools were not just places for academic learning, but for nurturing the hearts and minds of children from all walks of life. Angelina and Angelica wanted to give back to the community that had never given up on them. Each school was equipped with the latest technology, but it was the values of kindness, resilience, and compassion that were at the core of the curriculum. Next, the twins established hospitals and research centers, places where healthcare and education would go hand in hand. They focused on improving medical care in underserved areas, ensuring that people who had once been neglected would now have access to quality treatment. They used their platform to raise awareness about the importance of research and innovation, pushing for breakthroughs in fields that could change lives. But perhaps their most heartfelt gesture was making sure Mama Ruth lived the rest of her life in comfort. They bought her a beautiful home, one that was far from the small house she had lived in when they were children. The house was surrounded by gardens and filled with warmth, a reflection of the love she had poured into them over the years. Angelina and Angelica made sure Mama Ruth had everything she needed and more. They surrounded her with love and appreciation, never letting her forget how much she meant to them. In the quiet moments when the twins would sit by Mama Ruth's side, they often talked about the future. Their success had allowed them to build a legacy, not of wealth or material possessions, but of love, compassion, and a commitment to giving back. They knew that this was the real measure of success. Mama Ruth smiled as she looked at her daughters, proud of who they had become. "You've made me so proud," she would say, her voice filled with emotion. "You've given the world a gift far more valuable than any treasure: your hearts." Years passed, and with each passing day, Angelina and Angelica became more entrenched in their mission to give back to the world. Their invention had catapulted them to incredible heights, but it was their humility, kindness, and unwavering dedication to others that earned them the admiration of not only their peers but also the communities they served. They never forgot the lessons Mama Ruth had taught them. Lessons about the power of love, the importance of family, and the resilience required to rise above life's challenges. Mama Ruth had been their guiding star, and even as their fame and influence spread, their relationship with her remained the center of their universe. Through the years, the twins would visit Mama Ruth's home daily, often sitting on her porch, sipping tea, and reminiscing about their shared journey. There was always laughter, stories, and moments of quiet reflection. Mama Ruth's home was a sanctuary of love, a place where nothing else mattered except the bond they shared. It was there that they truly understood what family meant. While their biological parents lived in obscurity, still attempting to rebuild their lives after the financial ruin caused by their superstitions, Angelina and Angelica's hearts were with the woman who had sacrificed so much for them. The twins had built their wealth, but they knew it was Mama Ruth's love and guidance that had shaped them into the women they were. She had been their real parent all along. Their philanthropic work expanded even further, touching lives in ways they had never imagined. They were involved in everything from environmental conservation to mental health initiatives, always putting others first. The twins knew that the true measure of success was not wealth or accolades but the positive change they could create in the world. And while they were loved by millions, their hearts were fully devoted to one person, the woman who had shown them what true love and family meant. Mama Ruth, with her simple yet profound wisdom, had not only given them a home but had also given them the greatest gift of all: the knowledge that family is not defined by blood, but by the hearts that choose to love. As the twins stood side by side with Mama Ruth, they knew that they had found their true family. It was a family built on trust, love, and unwavering support, a family that had been chosen, not born into. Angelina and Angelica's story had become a beacon of hope for countless people around the world. From the moment they were abandoned by their biological parents to the moment they stood tall as innovators and philanthropists, their journey had proven that no circumstance, no matter how dire, could strip away the power of resilience and love. Their story was shared in books, articles, and interviews, and it inspired many who had faced adversity to keep moving forward, no matter the obstacles. As they continued to grow in their professional and personal lives, the twins remained steadfast in their commitment to bettering the world. They used their predictive technology not only to revolutionize industries but also to tackle global issues like climate change, poverty, and inequality. Their device, which once seemed like a fantastical idea, had now been integrated into real-world solutions that saved lives and improved the quality of living for millions. But amidst their success, they never lost sight of their humble beginnings. Their journey was always grounded in the love and sacrifices Mama Ruth had made for them. She had been the foundation upon which everything had been built, and even as their lives grew more complex, they ensured she was always at the heart of it all. The twins continued to visit Mama Ruth daily, and with each passing year, the love between them grew even stronger. They had built a legacy together, one that extended far beyond their own personal achievements. Mama Ruth's wisdom had shaped them into the women they had become, and now, with every new venture and every new act of kindness, they paid that wisdom forward. Angelina and Angelica also worked on creating a foundation dedicated to supporting children who, like them, had been abandoned or forgotten. They knew how it felt to grow up without a family of their own, and they wanted to ensure that no child would ever have to endure the same isolation they once had. Their foundation funded scholarships, provided food, shelter, and health care, and gave children the chance to dream big, just as they had. As they looked to the future, Angelina and Angelica knew that their journey wasn't over. The world was full of challenges, and there was still so much work to be done. But they also knew that with each other by their side, and with the love and support of Mama Ruth, they were capable of achieving anything. Their story was more than just one of success. It was a testament to the strength of family, to the importance of love, and to the power of believing in oneself. They had found their true family, and together, they had built something far greater than wealth or recognition. They had built a legacy of love that would endure for generations to come.